Right, so what are we here for?
I'm here to show her the puppet.
Ah.
My God! This puppet! But yes, I do remember now. It was a stormy night.
Oh, wow.
It was a dark and stormy night.
Well, you're going to have to read quick, probably, because they like zooming through these.
And now I'm a little bit... Stop! Dimitri, don't be a fool! Who the hell's Dimitri? Yeah, I don't know whether... I'm too scared to click.
I think...
Ha 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 ha! What do you have to say, Dimitri? We're going to begin a new life together.
Well, that's a guy holding a puppet, so that's...
So is Dimitri the name of the puppet?
Yeah, did he blame Dimitri on killing that guy?
Yeah, stop, Dimitri, don't. Who is that guy? This was on a dark and stormy night. What is going on? Dad! My father was on the ground, dead. I was terrified and fled to my room. When I woke up, I thought it was just a bad dream. But since that day, my father repelled me in an unexplainable manner. A few days later, they put me in a boarding school. Oh, this is awful, Inspector. Inspector, I have come to warn you that the boat is going to berth.
I have my case. I don't understand why it's my case, but I'm almost certain it's Dick.
No one leaves this boat, Captain. Will you call everyone together? I can now tell you who is the murderer. Why do you have such a small head? It's like really small.
You have a tic-tac.
It's honestly very distracting. I'm beginning to see why we've never seen you before. I am now in the position to reveal the name of the killer. But before I do that, let me first recap situation. Last night, I had just arrived on board when Hector came to warn me of Niklas's death. I followed Hector to the office, but just when I was going to examine the corpse, someone hit me from behind like a coward. I remained unconscious for the entire night. Slept there. And the next morning, when I woke up, there wasn't any trace left of Niklas's body. Oh. I think this is the who did it.
Oh, I think it... I mean, it literally... It can only be Dick.
It's the one who is not animated. It's you the killer, Mr. Smock. Or should I call you Ostrovich? Dmitri Ostrovich. But you're so cunning, Inspector. But believe me, you're far from knowing everything. This is a long story that goes... This is a weird accent. Goes back 17 years. At the time, I was a young starving actor searching for fame and fortune. One night, after a performance, a young lady come to see me, and she was gorgeous. We hit it off immediately. One thing led to another, and we became lovers. That's when things started to go wrong. Mercedes was married to a very rich man and wouldn't leave him. I don't remember if it was her or myself who first came up with the idea, but we agreed there was only one solution, which was to eliminate Niklas Karaboudjan, her husband. Weird way of saying. Our love required such action, and not much later we finalised our plan. This said night I entered the Karaboudjan's life, and did the terrible deed. I never thought it would be so easy. Thanks to my acting abilities, The following day I managed to fool everyone close to the family. I had now become Niklas Karaboudjan. We decided to move away, and Mercedes put her young daughter Daphne in a boarding school. A new life began for me, and I savoured the luxury of my new situation. This lasted almost a year, and it was a ghastly incident that really brought me back to reality. Mercedes had a lover. This piece of news coincided with Hector's arrival. The latter, who I knew very well before I became Karaboudjan, saw through my game and tried to blackmail me. He was a notorious criminal and wasn't surprised when I offered him a large sum of money to get rid of my unfaithful wife. Once Hector had accomplished his job, all I had to do was play the role of the distressed widower. Karaboudjan had a colossal fortune, and the passing years were devoted to spending it. I finished by draining every last penny. With my back against the wall, I started to borrow and borrow more. That's when I remembered old Agnes, as rich as Donald Trump. Oh, Jesus.
Didn't expect that reference.
After a brief encounter, I swiftly realised that I was her only heir. When was Donald Trump born, then? Oh, okay, right.
Don't clue.
I don't think that's right. I think where this is set period in terms of its period, I don't know.
No, it's not right. That's a weird translation thing.
Or someone's accidentally forgotten that Donald Trump didn't exist.
In 1912.
1912? Was it?
1912 is when the murder. This is like 1930 something, isn't it?
Okay. Weird.
I don't remember what the date is now.
So the only thing left to do was to help the old lady along to the grave. Again, this proved to be easy. I moved Agnes to my house and treated her with special medication. The old lady swiftly succumbed. But then the old bag had a son whose existence she had never mentioned. And it was him who pulled the rug from under my feet. You see, Inspector, this wasn't going to stop me. To put my plan forward, I needed a scapegoat. Me. You. By using someone who was part of the police, I would have the perfect witness to my real death. So, you have killed the real Dick Schmuck, and helped by your accomplice Hector, disguised yourself to make everyone believe you were him. Then Hector came to get me in my room, and I found the body which I thought was Karaboudjan. Yes, I knocked you out before you could realise it wasn't. All that was left to do was then put the body in a secret hiding place, helped by my faithful Hector, and wait for the right moment to throw Schmuck's corpse overboard. And the day after, Hector made like he was knocked out, and you calmly took Dick's place. Yes, and everything would have run smoothly if it wasn't for you meddling kids. That imbecile Suzanne hadn't interfered. She ended up guessing who I was, so I had to get rid of her. But why Hector? You don't really believe that I was going to share the inheritance with Hector. Anyway, he was becoming too greedy. An occasion presented itself to get rid of him, and I took it. And you ridded yourself of him, while at the same time you made accusations against the others. Ah, a small decoy. This is why I left a few clues for you to find. It's been him putting things in pots. And in linen. He's the guy.
He's the linen putter.
The little key in my room. The receipt. This is actually very neat in terms of like that they thought of it, but at the same time, it's still ridiculous. Yes. At the beginning, I was aiming at Rebecca. If you knew the things you can learn when you're someone else. And then this amused me, and as a game, I started leading you down other trails. Well, you certainly will be able to meditate a long while on the gross errors you have made. However, this can't fail. I have prepared everything. Yes, but no crime is foolproof. Oh, I thought he was going to have something more to say about it, like, or some way out of that. Well, they fixed that rail.
With a plank.
Father Fabiani resigned from the Brotherhood to become a professional demoler.
Oh, that's amazing.
But he's rubbish. Like, all his stories are about losing.
He lost. He just loses all the time. That's absolutely amazing.
Daphne and Giulio finally married each other. They are now living happily ever after. Oh, that's nice. Giulio really had nothing to do with any of this. Rebecca didn't waste any time finding herself a new husband. Of course, a very rich one. But this time she made sure to find out about him first. She just latched onto... She didn't even notice she pulled a gun on Dick Schmog. These people, he's either very, very good, which I guess he's done it twice at least, possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly more. But it's just all based on his acting. It just still seems insane. Tom and Rose... Rose and Tom divorced. Rose remarried and finally had the child she wanted so much. She named him Raphael. Tom is a dick. We didn't see him again. Until
he was done.
Tom, chased by Melville, gave himself to drink and became a tramp. Everyone hates Tom. He is literally... Yeah, he became a tramp and then he caught a venereal disease. Stubbed his toe every time he walked up some steps. And everyone called him a moron. And then he died alone by himself. The evidence found by Inspector Dusentier was overwhelming, and Ostrovich was sentenced to life in prison. Raoul Dusentier got something, but I couldn't read it because it was way too fast. Look at this. What's happening? He became Tom Selleck in Magnum P.I. The end.
If you're trying to convince me he had a gun that entire time, I refuse to believe that.
No, I think basically, I couldn't read it because it moved too fast, but I think essentially it sort of suggested that after that case he was so successful and amazing that he became a private investigator because he got a taste for it.
Right.
And now this is what he does. He just drinks and has guns. And was magically transported to the 80s from what I can tell.
Right. Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting the first half of that. I didn't twig that bit together, but, I got kind of the last half.
You got impersonation, didn't you?
I got impersonation the second time. I got the second impersonation. But I didn't get I didn't get that Niklas wasn't Niklas originally.
Was there really a way to get that?
I don't know, maybe. There's the whole Ostrovich thing, but it was hard to... I connected that Ostrovich was him, but I thought that was still Niklas under, a pseudonym as a performer. I didn't think he was Ostrovich, and then he became Niklas, then he became...
I'm just going to turn the volume down on that annoying music.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't think you could get it.
I mean, unless you're supposed to pick it up from the showing the doll to Daphne at the end, where she remembers from her childhood that her father was dead.
I think at that point, you could go. He's been doing this the whole. Oh, we've got credits. Cool. That we were supposed to that it wasn't him originally. That there was a whole extra layer to this.
Yeah, but that kind of comes in right at the end out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm not counting that. Like I cottoned onto it from that because they showed it to us.
Yeah.
And then you didn't really get much of a chance to do anything else apart from point at Dick Schmock. And then I didn't remember that it did that very long explanation of why he did it, actually. I really have no recollection. I knew it was him. So I remembered picking him. I
mean, to be honest, I feel like they kind of make it clear that all the rest are red herrings.
Yeah, I mean, none of that last chunk is about any of that other stuff, is it, at all?
No, not at all. Like, you just kind of suddenly... The minute you get access to the kitchen, you start seeing things.
Yeah. What did you think of it, then? Like...
I mean, we've gone over it several times throughout the playthrough, I think. I mean, I thought the story was actually alright. Like, bar some kind of some nonsensical adventure game stuff. You know, that kind of just happens. As far as like a kind of mystery cruise thing goes, I think that was actually quite good.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting thing is the conversation system. But it's got its issues.
Yeah, I think age. It's a really cool concept that isn't like 100% fully formed, I think, by this point. And I think we see it done better in other games. I remember at the time of playing it when it was sort of brand new-ish, I guess. It's just on the Amiga, being blown away by it because it was just so cool being able to talk to these people and sort of poke at these threads. You know, you need to consider that period of time of gaming. This was kind of when I was sort of discovering that games could have like this kind of narrative and be more about things like this than just blasting through a level, hitting things.
Yeah, like
hitting weird shapes
action.
And cherries and stuff. And
I have to admit, I think the way they did like all the different threads was actually quite good. Like we had formed the theories before they were directly told to us.
Yep.
Which is more than can be said of a lot of games. I think sometimes I kind of have no clue until like they basically go, here's the answer.
Yeah, the actual mystery I think is pretty good. Getting there is a bit of a stress, that's all. I think a bit frustrating.
I think the combination of systems were extremely frustrating, yes, I would say so. Like, even though it was a small map, it's the fact that you had to talk to everyone about everything and also just wander around picking things up, and there's no way for you to know when that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And the fact that there were directional specific triggers is difficult. The fact that you have to talk to people about things you've already talked to them about at different times is difficult.
Yeah, that was quite jarring, wasn't it? Where you found the thing we did earlier with Suzanne, where she had things that I can't remember if it was Suzanne, it was Dick actually, wasn't it?
It was Dick for the final two.
Yeah, we asked them stuff that we had already got and that we
had already heard. I recognised both the sentences.
But it then gave us a trigger, which I
Yeah,
assume...
and clearly that's to stop soft locking, I think.
I do wonder if you actually need it.
Well, it progressed time.
Yeah, but I don't know. We got like past 6, didn't we, into some weird point. I wonder if some of those 10-minute chunks you don't actually need in order to get to that part where he says...
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know. But it just felt weird, like you're doing stuff, because we didn't go up into the room to see whether the note would have been there anyway. There's a chance that had we just ignored that conversation, we wouldn't have got that 10-minute chunk, but we could have walked back into our room and found the note, which is what actually led us to the next story beat.
True.
But yeah.
I think Raoul so far has probably been... But have we had any other real characters bar the Loom one?
No, I think... So what have we played? We played King's Quest, and you've got a character's name there, but really he's a kind of an empty shell. Graham.
He doesn't really give you any opinions.
He has no personality.
Or really anything.
What else?
We just know he's
Maniac
buff.
Mansion, they had character, but
That's
it's
true.
very light, like... You know.
And also, because there were so many of them, you didn't get a lot of direct personality out of them. There was more personality in the villains.
Yeah, that's very true.
Which I think is the focus. If anything, it's kind of a comical villain.
Yeah.
Style, isn't it?
Yeah, they're more memorable. The problem is that you can say, well, Bernard is memorable, but then Bernard is memorable because he's got a whole extra game bolted onto him.
Yeah, and that definitely has more focus on the heroes as well.
Yeah.
That second one, it's got Bernard and then the two others.
If you took Bernard from Maniac Mansion, all you've got is he's a geek.
Yeah, pretty much.
And a tuna head. But yeah, this guy, as completely insane as he is, he had a lot
of character.
Yeah, also you're spending a lot more time with him, I think. This game has been noticeably longer than the other games that we've played so far.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
A little bit older, a little bit newer compared to most of those, and will probably be in line with the time it takes to play other equivalent games of this.
Yeah.
Can't remember when it actually came out, actually. It was in 93 or something like that. Let's find out just quickly.
Yeah, Raoul was very characterful. It maybe not always in the best ways, but it did definitely had there was definitely a point towards the middle where we just kind of knew what he was going to say, or not knew what he was going to say, but knew kind of roughly what the reaction was going to be to certain things.
Okay. It was 1991. So the Loom came out at the same year as this, or very close to. So
Loom was very short.
That's a comparator then, yeah. Yeah, he's really interesting, I think, because it is this is where you're seeing adventures sort of take that narrative thing and take you on an actual adventure thematically, where in the previous adventure games prior to this that we've experienced and we'll see through the other ones we play, the story is kind of essentially just background ambience to facilitate some puzzles. If anything, I think puzzles get in the way of this game a little bit.
Yeah, you almost kind of want to get through the narrative, and you're sitting there going, I can't work out how to get to the next bit of the narrative. Yeah,
their inability to deal with how to properly funnel the player to the next part of the game, to the point where it becomes just guesswork. It is entirely go to each screen, hope you see the thing, click on everything. That is the mechanic, because it's giving you nothing else. I
think the couple actual puzzles we had, some of them were good, some of them were bad. The book one was fine. The projector one was silly.
Yeah.
That's that was stupid. The idea that you have to open it, press it, close it, press it.
Well, because I guess you're left not really understanding why you did those things. Like you could potentially achieve it because you might do it. You have to, if you just break that one down, then like you've got to add the film the reel to the projector, which makes sense.
Yeah,
that's absolutely fine. Though the hotspot for that was confusing.
You press the button, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
but then you get no feedback for that afterwards.
And then you see the screws, you take them out.
Yeah.
Then it opens up. Now, that's where you would naturally think you have to, like, do something.
Yeah, like...
Because if it doesn't work, it's not going to work.
Like there's a part missing,
suddenly.
Or a piece of electronics or something that maybe your battery is not in or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like something's loose or whatever. But
it's a puzzle in The Walking Dead. Like
he just opened it and clicked the button, and it showed that it worked. So he closed it and then he pressed the button and it worked.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're missing something about how projectors work. But maybe you have to open the hood up and check something. But we pressed the same button. Like it doesn't make sense to me that if you took the hood off. You know, if you try and start a car and it doesn't work, you open the bonnet and then start it. It doesn't just start. Like, the cover's to facilitate a solution. Like,
it's not the solution itself.
No, it's like, just give this thing a bit of air to get it going. And all you did was see the sort of red things light up, and then you put the hood back on. Oh, and it says it's working, or the thing looks like it's working. It's almost like the game makers just wanted you to test it.
Yeah.
Before you actually used it, and therefore you couldn't use it unless you tested it. And there's plenty of that. Which is just
confusing.
Yeah, in that game. It's like...
I think the soap was not really a puzzle, but was a puzzle.
It's extremely funny, but it's like...
It was funny.
I don't even really get how that achieved what it achieved. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, you slide that presumably sopping wet soap that has been in your pocket for, like, what is the state of Raoul's, like, trousers?
Damp.
It's no wonder no one wanted to talk to him. It's like got this weird, like, white frothy liquid pulsating out of his trouser pocket. Like,
yeah, it's horrible.
It's like, do you have a bar of soap down there?
He just let it slide across the floor.
And then it slid all the way across.
And the guy must have stepped on it. So that's lucky he was walking.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, it would have just bounced off his feet.
He stepped on it and then completely took himself out. Like, on something, I would assume.
I thought, when we threw it in, I thought it was going to go down the middle. We'd walk in, and then he'd step towards us on top of the soap. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, that would still be ridiculous, but it would make at least a sort of coherent puzzle sense in that you're making him move. But in this case, it was just you need to take him down with this bar of soap.
Yeah, which was funny.
It was funny. It's not a problem. It's annoying in that I wouldn't. I mean, we did it. I couldn't.
I mean, it was pretty quick actually, because you looked at the items and I went, "Oh, soap."
Mm.
I mean, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. And
but that's because we had very limited items that could be used.
Yeah.
It was very much loads of paper.
Yeah, and I think that came up a few times where it wasn't necessarily that the puzzle was particularly well telegraphed or communicated in any way that the game was actually doing, but more, what else have we got that we could throw at this that would actually make sense in any contextual way?
But that kind of comes up in a lot of adventure games, right?
Yeah, it's like not something that Cruise for a Corpse is specifically guilty of on its own. It's an adventure game problem. Especially old adventure games, I think, where they haven't yet learnt the language of communication. I think they've learnt how to build puzzles, but they haven't. Actually, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's been a learnt thing. It's more of a construct of the time. Like, that was what was acceptable. Like, we want you to butt heads against this. Solving the puzzle is to to do these things, whereas I think as time goes on, people realise that those acts are actually not that much fun, and a lot of people aren't completing the games because they just hit a wall where you are essentially trying to guess the thing that the creator wants you to do. What you're really measuring is your resistance to basically trying everything you could possibly see.
Yeah, this definitely lent more towards that side of it, sort of that generation of point-and-click adventures. Yes, as you say, probably early in that life cycle, but
yeah, it's harsh to knock it too much because it was something that was pretty prevalent in.
No, I see. Honestly, actually, my general overall opinion of this game is positive. I don't think. I think it felt a bit long, but that was just think the nature of playing it in these sessions kind of does that. Like you've got to, because you're doing it like over weeks and playing for a session at a time, you know.
Yeah, I mean overall, I think it's taken us probably about 10 hours or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know fully. I mean, it personally hasn't bothered me too much. Other than jumping in a week later each time and being a little bit like, oh, where on earth do we go? And again, that's something that happens in these games because there's no like note taking or note system to get you back on track. No journal. Yeah, no puzzle guides. No markers of any kind at all, so you were kind of just... And again, because you're on a small ship where all the environments look largely the same, and you're exploring the same space over and over and over again, it's very easy to sort of be like, oh, where are we again? At the, what point of the game are we at?
Yeah, definitely.
Each of our saves has kind of ended just mostly standing outside the gangway. With the doors to the crew, the passengers' bunks, but it gets a bit samey. But I didn't have a problem with it particularly in that sense. I think
I just think it was the nature of it, the way we played it, made it feel slow as opposed to it actually being like a slow game. I think if I had played through this myself, all in like however many hours I would play it, I think it would have...
Yeah.
I think it would have been one quicker because there would have been less of that trying to remember where we were. And I think like that was the real sort of slowdown, if there was any.
I think if you were just playing it ordinarily, you'd just be banging through it. In the sense that you wouldn't be reading out all those bits of text or being worried about doing the same thing over and over again. You'd probably just resort to clicking through everything with everyone that you can see and zooming around on the map to get there.
Definitely.
Which, again, is fine. It doesn't excuse the reasons why you have to do it. It's still, I think, not a great game in that sense. But I think the atmosphere and the ambience and the plot in general is really good or solid, if a bit silly, but in a kind of way that I like.
Loads of like pleasant silly moments of just, oh, that is stupid. That's fine though. Yeah,
and Raoul is a terrible detective.
He was awful.
He might be the worst detective. He literally doesn't look at anything. He's like arguing with himself all the time.
He refuses to ask people questions that are pertinent.
Yeah, despite having the system to learn more information, he does really have a problem asking the right questions. He won't read anything all the way through. He might be a cipher for like a certain type of gamer.
Very early to make that.
Yeah, I remember playing like Half-Life 2 with a friend, and like wanting to, and just going through the beginning and wanting to show them like how cool it was. You've played it, I assume.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So you're going through the train station, and then there's the guards and
Yeah.
You got to drop the thing in the bin or not or whatever, and then you meet up with Barney and all that crowbar stuff. And it's all cool and cinematic, and you're still sort of controlling it to some extent. And I was showing him it, and I was thinking, oh, he's going to play it and love it, and it's all cool. But he was just interested in like getting on with things, so he was just like ignoring everything, looking in the wrong direction for things, wanting to push forward, and didn't care at all about any of the like stuff going around. He was just like trying to hit Barney, just everything like that. And Raoul seems like to have a similar dismissive nature of everything going on around him. Like he's not willing to play the game. He won't do what you want. He apparently is a very good inspector.
When we're not controlling him.
Yeah. For this case, he was an absolute maniac with a bar of soap in his pocket, right, and a complete lack of desire to follow through on anything.
I think the pixel hunting in this game was rough.
Yeah, bad.
Bad. Like really, really bad. Far too many times.
Yeah. You
had to click on like just the smallest thing. I think the one that I think was most notable was the bracelet. Was it the bracelet or the necklace or whatever it was? The
necklace had something, didn't it? Where there was a catch.
It had something on the end of a catch.
Yeah. On
one end of the neck. Like, that's ridiculous.
But there were plenty as well. The screws were 1 pixel big.
Yeah, the screws were crazy. Luckily, you could see the screws.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it would have been rough.
Yeah, that and the placement of random stuff, like, which was funny that they built into that end. Like, the idea that Dick, or the guy, Nicholas Karaboudjan, whatever his real name is,
Dmitry
was
Ostrovich,
running around planting bits of superfluous evidence, like, in weird places for you to find. Like, it's quite cool that they must have thought it themselves. Like, why is all this stuff happening? Why do we have a key on the floor of our...
I remember you saying at the time, going, I hope they explain why this key is here, because there's got to be a good reason, otherwise it's nonsense.
Yeah, I'm really glad they did, though the explanation is insane again. I feel like he possibly undone his own thing by doing stuff like that. Couldn't he have just hidden in a room? Like, till this all sort of blew over? I don't know. It's just like you got more chance of being caught doing weird stuff like that.
All this weird stuff, yeah.
And it was just for a laugh.
Yeah, he just said that straight out, didn't he? He's like, it was really fun watching you flail around, so I did more.
Yeah. So
the first 6 hours of that adventure were just...
It was just him dicking around. Putting stuff in places while we just happened to not see him do it. It's why he wasn't available for the first little chunk to talk to. And also why he gave us barely any information.
Well, I mean, he was... Yeah.
It's a funny guy. It's just kind of a silly... That's what I mean. It's a silly story, but it's really cool that it's kind of thought through. And most games I think I was playing at the time didn't have really much of a story at all until I came across point and click, and I hit stuff like this and Monkey Island all at the same time, and it was just like, I love this genre. Like, you're getting narrative that I
was surprised by all the sudden deaths towards the end.
Yeah, that seemed a bit brutal. Yeah, he wasn't going around lacing clues for Suzanne, was he? He was trying to kill Suzanne repeatedly. Whereas we were kind of just left to... Maybe it's because we're a policeman and it would have been pretty... I mean, he only killed us when he had to. When we broke into his one side of the hold.
Yeah.
Do we think that was him?
It must have been him, right?
Yeah.
Hector's already dead at that point, isn't he?
Yeah, Hector was dead, and the mafioso, that wasn't really dealt with, was it?
That was really undealt with. So we understand that he was borrowing money, so that could be it. But the problem with that is, like, it doesn't explain the grenade, it doesn't explain...
Yeah.
Like, that grenade seems like out of nowhere.
Well, are we basically just to assume that they've been conducting various dodgy dealings while he's been masquerading as Karaboudjan, just because, like this is what he does. But he's also been enjoying the wealth, so yeah, sure, he's also now engaged in arms smuggling, and has come up against mafioso types, which makes more sense if he was originally some sort of dodgy criminal. Makes sort of less sense based on what he was saying about that the reason he did this was for love.
The original murder,
Yeah. Also a bit of a curveball with Mercedes as well, turning out to have some other lover as well and being a bit of a player. Like, in general, like, so she got involved with him as a performer. Then they both offed her husband, even though she wouldn't leave him. Weird. That's a weird situation. I won't leave him, but I will let you kill him.
Yeah. And assume his persona.
Identity. That's fine. I can cope with that, like, ethically. But I
and then I
can't
will
divorce
go cheat
him.
on you.
I cannot divorce him. He must die. Like, there's no way round this. And then, yeah, I will cheat on you with someone else, and then you will kill me.
And Hector ended up being the one to do it.
Yeah. Bit of very sordid and very overcomplicated, possibly. She should have just divorced him. Would have made life a lot easier.
Wanted the money.
But yeah. And yeah, then all this extra weird ancillary criminal activity. I think essentially there to point you to the fact that Niklas is a dodgy guy.
And just has been dodgy the entire time.
Yeah, but it wasn't him.
I just find it completely unfathomable that people could... Like, he's such a good makeup guy and actor that he can pretend to be...
Yeah.
I can kind of understand maybe the first one, sort of. Send the kid to boarding school, there's only them two, they just make up new connections, you know? Yeah. Nobody has to know. But, like... I think the more recent one, him turning into Dick Schmock,
transforming,
is just insane. Like, when everyone meet him the first time and go, "You look awfully like Niklas Karaboudjan."
Just imagine he just turns up and he's got like a sort of wonky moustache on, but other than that, looks exactly the same. It's the Superman Clark Kent thing, I think, for the purposes of the game. You're meant to assume that he is such an incredibly talented actor and impersonator of people, which I don't follow that logic. Like, he's a ventriloquist. To me, that doesn't read he can become other people. That reads he can throw his voice.
Yeah.
But I think we're meant to say, okay, he is a very good actor.
Extremely good performer.
Yeah, not good enough to use it as a career to earn money, but definitely good enough to use it as a way to facilitate crime. And yeah, and that's just it. He is so good that everyone... It took Suzanne, the drunk detective, to crack it. Everyone else who's known him for years couldn't see it.
Yeah, it was kind of bonkers.
It's like a magic eye puzzle. You had to be drunk and staring at him for a long time.
Needed Hector's help to go like, "Yes, Mr. Karaboudjan," every 5 seconds. Reinforce the name to the face, make people forget what you used to look like.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, so anyway, another one done.